Hey Sam, how are you doing today?
Hey Dave, good. Thank you for
Good.
having me.
Hey, thanks for being here. I really appreciate you doing this. I want to kind of ask, where did this all begin? What was childhood like for you?
Childhood for me was growing up in a small town outside of Lansing, Michigan.
Okay, nice.
I had a good upbringing. Football coach dad, so I was around football all the time. I was like the ball boy, water boy, manager for most of my childhood, and then eventually just discovered a love for filmmaking. I think when I was around 12 or 13. And decided then that that's what I want to do, and have never really thought twice about it.
Was there a particular film or anything that really made you say, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
I don't have that one film that a lot of people have where they're like, this was the moment.
Yeah.
No, for me, I think I was just an artistic kid. And uh, one thing that was maybe formative for me, though, was at one point my dad showed me these home movies that he made as a kid and growing up in the 60s in the same town where I was growing up. And that was really cool to see these little Super 8 movies that he had made with my uncle and aunt and when they were very young. And I think he kind of dreamt of being a filmmaker at the time, but it was way, it was even loftier than it was for me, to say, hey, maybe I want to pursue filmmaking as a career.
Yeah.
So he didn't ultimately go into the arts, but seeing that he did that, I think inspired me in a big way.
Did you happen to make some home movies of your own when you were younger?
Yeah, I started making little videos and, I don't know if you would even call them movies, but when I was probably 10 or 11 years old, just dumb stuff with my friends mostly. And
Sure.
uh, yeah, and they slowly got a little bit better and better, and eventually found my way to LA and went to film school here. Um, and yeah, I've never stopped.
Yeah. Do you remember like the first film you ever completed? Like a short film that you did on your own?
Yeah, that's a good question. I remember doing a lot of just silly local TV ads and stuff like that when I was very young. I tried to make a film that I never completed, a war film in my neighborhood, and it was not completed because I fell into a creek with the camera while I was trying to get a shot and fried the camera.
Oh no.
So that film is still a work in progress.
Sure.
But yeah, the first films that I really you know, films that I would characterize as films that I completed were probably not until I was in college at USC and, starting to make student films that were somewhat, respectable.
Sure, absolutely. Getting into film school and everything, do you remember that
Hmm.
one film you made where you're like,
Yeah.
this is it?
Well, I think I had the moment, the this is what I want to do for the rest of my life moment a lot earlier than college. I was,
Yeah,
I had already been making films for years going when I went into school, and but there was a pretty important experience I had on a feature film um, in Michigan before I moved to California. Michigan had big tax incentives in the around the time that I graduated from high school. And the summer I graduated from high school, I got to uh, intern on a feature film starring Liam Hemsworth called Love and Honor. And that was the first time that I actually, I think up until then I loved the idea of making movies for my career, but it's pretty hard to without having been on a real set. It's a pretty it's just difficult to really know what that means. And yeah, I spent an entire summer working on this film, and that was my first real job, in the film industry, and that was pretty affirming for me.
I read online that you apprenticed with a cinematographer. Is that the film you were talking about? Or
Yeah, Theo
yeah,
Van de Sande was his
okay,
name. Yeah.
cool,
Yeah, and he was a really, really great mentor and really generous with his knowledge. And
awesome.
yeah, it was a good way to kind of kick things off for me.
Yeah. Was there something that he taught you that still sticks with you today that you still keep with your eye for film?
It's a good question. Um, Nothing specifically uh, stands out that I remember. I think it was more just kind of how generous he was with letting me watch and kind of be close to the process, and it just really demystified filmmaking for me.
Yeah.
As I think back on that experience, I think I would have. It's almost like I knew so little that I didn't really have like a foundation for the knowledge, the stuff that I was experiencing to stick to and kind of build on. So, I remember afterward, years later, wishing that I knew what I was looking at more. It's all these shapes and instruments and I sponged as much of it as I could, but um, I probably would have gotten more out of watching him work if I had a bit more of a fundamental understanding of cinematography at the time.
Yeah.
It's just really complicated thing uh, to be tossed into.
Oh, sure. But I mean, you've gone on to pretty much do, obviously, you're a filmmaker, do editing, cinematography. When you are approaching a story now, how do you use all those things to kind of shape how you advance at a project?
Well, every project is different, of course.
Yeah.
And my role on a project varies greatly from project to project. I direct films, but I also, I'm a freelance cinematographer, and so, and I'm also a producer, mostly on documentaries.
Yeah.
So it really is a this dynamic where I'm kind of recalibrating the filmmaker that I am, and based on the project, and but it keeps it interesting, I think. And it, like you alluded to, I think it's good to have a really holistic skill set where um, I can pull from my experience as a producer to help me be a better cinematographer and department head. Um, you know, and as an editor, to have an editing background as a cinematographer, for example, that's really additive, I think, to my skill set, because you're thinking about designing shots that are going to complement one another and flow in a specific way. And yeah, so I'm not someone whose um, career is easily summarized, I think, and I don't intend to change that. I intend to just keep contributing to projects that I love in whatever way that I can to make them as good as they can be.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of the jack of all trades. You got all these great things you've mastered, and it pays off. You've been nominated and won a bunch of awards. You were even nominated for an Academy Award. What did that feel like when you found out that you were nominated for an Academy Award?
It was very cool. Yeah, there's a video of it out there somewhere, kind of reaction. We were just kind of shocked, and just yeah, the whole process was really fun because we got to do it with Sean and I are best friends, and his grandmas are um, just really dear to me and obviously to him, and to go on that journey with my best friend and his grandmas, and to go to the Oscars with them
Yeah.
was really fun, and a really kind of unique experience. But it made them feel really seen and appreciated, I think, in a way that they never had before.
Yeah, that's great. It's awesome to be a part of that, and rightfully so. On the flip side of that,
Mhm.
what is like a behind the scenes win that you had that almost felt like winning an award?
Um, I think on documentaries, anytime you make a film and complete it and share it with the subject,
Hmm.
and get a positive reaction, those are big wins, because subjects trust filmmakers so much with their stories, and you as a filmmaker have a duty to them to, you know, portray them in an accurate way, but also, uh, respectfully. And I'm thinking of a documentary that I produced called Long Line of Ladies, which was really difficult because it was about a Native American coming of age ceremony that had never been photographed before. And there is a lot of hesitation and anxiety on the part of the community who we were documenting, because the norm for, you know, hundreds of years was for filmmakers to exploit them, and we wanted to kind of rewrite that and do it as respectfully as possible and do it in collaboration with the community. And it was a really challenging process, but when we finished the film and we saw um, how much they absolutely loved it, kind of made it all worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like a pretty big win right there. Definitely have to check that out. Sounds
Yeah,
like
it's on
a
New York Times.
I was
Hmm.
just gonna ask. Awesome. All right, well let's talk about The Singers, which is your new short film that is currently making waves in the film festival scene right now. People are really talking about this. Like I said, it popped up through my Instagram.
Hmm.
The things I was reading about it, I was definitely very interested. So I hopped onto your page and I was like, I mean, I got to reach out to you and see about your craft and bringing this together. It's based on a short story by, was it Ivan Turgenev? Is that how you say it?
Hmm.
Perfect.
I
Uh,
don't know if that's how you say it, honestly, but your
yeah,
guess is as good as mine.
perfect.
I
Well, we'll
really
run
need to
with it.
find out before this thing gets
Yeah.
goes any further.
Well, I can't wait to
Yeah.
hear what it actually is. The short story, it's from the 1800s, not the most obvious source material. So, what drew you to the story?
Hmm. Yeah, I was drawn to the story. I think I was drawn to what the story had to say can about the power of vulnerability, and how even a sort of downtrodden group of old crusty men in a bar could have this really unexpected moment of connection, community, via, in this case, song. And yeah, that was kind of the initial spark. Um, that coupled with the idea of um, doing a modern adaptation of the source material, but using social media to identify a cast of first-time actors who are like viral singing talents, and having them play these unsuspecting uh, everymen who reveal themselves as incredible talents in the bar.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what drew me to it the most was the idea behind the fact that you used everyday people that you just found through social media. You weren't hiring, these
Mhm.
well-established actors or anything. And to me, that brings what you set out to do is bring that vulnerability to life because at some point in time, we've all been to a bar or a restaurant or whatever it might be, surrounded by strangers and not really knowing who's sitting next to us. So I think kind of bringing that more realistic viewpoint is definitely what drew me to it. And it sounds like
Mhm.
that's what kind of drew you to it as well. I
Yeah,
love it. I love it. So you said the first time actors,
thank you.
yeah, you found these people on TikTok, Instagram. Is that
Hmm.
correct?
Yeah, I was just sliding into people's DMs and leaving comments until hopefully they would get back to me, and it took a really long time. Probably took a year and a half or 2 years off and on of
Wow.
just trying to cobble together a cast. And yeah, some of them kind of flaked, as is expected when you try to make a film like this, and but a lot of them came through for us and ended up proving to themselves that they really can act. And yeah, we had a great group of guys that we managed to get all under one roof for a few days, so that we could do this.
That's great. Was there anyone that just kind of like really blew you away on the first day of set where you're like, how is this person not a professional?
Yeah, I think Will Harrington, who plays he's the guy on the piano, and he's kind of like a heckler.
Mhm.
He yeah, he just has incredible sort of electric energy, not just as a vocalist and musician, but as a just just on or off camera. He's one of those people that just is sort of magnetic, and yeah, right away he came in and he kind of started uh he started doing something which I hadn't even considered putting in the film, but he was doing what felt true to him amidst this group of men in the bar, and that was basically like heckling people, and like telling dumb jokes and trying to get people to buy him a beer. And yeah, it was immediately evident that that should be his character. We wanted these people to play themselves, and so it was interesting to see how that sort of shoehorned into a pretty major plot element. The film kind of starts with him approaching these guys at the bar and um, trying to basically mooch a beer off of somebody. He says something like, could you spare $20 for to help fight cocaine withdrawal? And that's like, I could have never written that. It's just something
Yeah,
he says, and that he's said that to people in the wild before,
for sure.
on the streets of New Orleans. And yeah, so it was all about leaning into the real um personality traits of each of these guys.
It's great. Yeah, it gives it that documentary style feel for sure. Now, with the bar, what was it like trying to scope out the exact bar that you wanted to use for a film like this?
It took a long time to find the right bar. We eventually stumbled on moose lodges and elks lodges, which are some sort of, I should really like how to pronounce Ivan Turgenev's name. I should make sure I know what moose lodges are. I don't really, but it's some sort of association, and many of the chapters of moose lodges. I think there are 10 or something in LA, have bars in their community centers, and they're not open to the public, which was a huge advantage for us needing to have a bar in LA that we could shut down for more than a few days. And
Yeah.
that wouldn't have been practical at any commercial, public bar. And yeah, they just have these great looks. They all kind of look like the bar you see in the film. Um, and when we stumbled on to the Moose Lodge, we also realized that unlike any other bar in LA, they actually want your money, even if it's very little. So I
Sure.
think we paid like 1,500 or $2,000, and we got to have the bar to ourselves for 4 days, which was
Nice.
crucial.
Yeah. So you got to keep all your equipment there and everything?
Right, right.
Nice. Nice. That made it a lot easier for you guys, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it was a big set dress too. So we really kind of tore the place apart to make it our bar versus the Moose Lodge. And there's no way we were gonna tear things down and put things back up every shoot day and still have a enough time to make the movie.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that worked out for you guys. So with the film, there's definitely a lot of vulnerability there. What I was picking up on, possibly like male loneliness. What
Mhm.
made you want to tell that type of story now, and what kind of conversation do you want it to spark amongst people?
Well, I think a lot of people are talking about that now, as a result of I think what how our phones are changing us, and social media and stuff. It's easier and more comfortable to live a more isolated lifestyle. Um, and yeah, um, I think for men especially, um, it's a really big issue right now. I can speak personally for myself. I grew up in a place where we're not really taught how to healthily convey our emotions and process things. And so I feel like even in my 30s, I'm still learning how to do that. And in a way, making this film was a bit of me diving headfirst into that idea and
Sure.
kind of telling a story about about that, and the film is about how making art or expressing yourself can heal and connect, and so that's what I did. Made a film about being vulnerable and connecting, and yeah, I think it's both timely, um, but I think it's also been probably an issue for as long as time. That's
Sure.
the story was written in 1850, and that's kind of what it's about. So, but yeah, probably more and more so.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's definitely a big topic of conversation. So I think tackling this type of film right now is very important. Connection is very important. It's great to see a filmmaker tackling something like that. And it being a short film too, it's obviously more accessible to people. I think
Mm,
it kind of seems in today's age that a lot of people are more interested in short form storytelling as opposed to 2.5 hour long epic motion pictures. So I
yeah,
think to me, short films are definitely a challenge in terms of storytelling, getting that story and emotion told in a shorter time frame. But you're doing it. You're really doing it.
yeah,
So that's great. You should be proud of that.
yeah. Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think attention spans are getting a little bit shorter. So for better or worse, short films are maybe more popular than they were at one point. But um, yeah, I think shorts are important, and they are the correct choice. They're the right format for certain stories, not for all of them, but if you can say what you need to say in 17 minutes, then do it, and
Yep.
you'll probably get more people to watch.
For sure. Now, you shot the singers on film instead of digital. Why did you choose to do that?
Well, short story based on in 1850. I wanted it to feel very timeless and kind of fable-esque, and so felt like an obvious decision in that sense. And then I think also something about taking all of these underdog kind of uh, um, this cast of very eclectic men from all over the world on the internet who are these genius in the rough talents, and shooting them on 35 millimeter film and projecting them 10 feet tall felt like we were giving them the moment that they deserved, that they've always deserved but have never gotten. And yeah, it was really those two things. And I think I also wanted to see what would happen if I made something where the performances felt very documentary, and the casting and the story felt kind of unstructured, and but for the visual language to be very refined and well thought out and kind of classical.
Yeah, great choice there. Was there any moments during production? Now, you said that you had all these underdogs you got from all across the world come together.
Mm.
Was there any difficult moments on set with having,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, all kinds of difficult moments on set. I didn't mean to cut you off, Dave. What was the end of that?
no, no, you're good. I just, with having people who haven't really been in front of a camera before.
Yeah, there were a lot of difficult moments. I think not so much because of their lack of acting experience. Because my background's in documentary, I'm pretty comfortable working with people who aren't used to being on camera. But
True.
um, yeah, it was the challenge was the self-inflicted, um, the very intentional choice of like trying to make this thing without a script and sort of to kind of really sculpt it like as we went, shot by shot. That was that was stressful, and yeah. One performance thing that stands out is that um, Judah Kelly, who won the Voice Aust or Australia's Got Talent, um, was really nervous and shy in particular when it came time to sing. Uh, and we came up with this idea at the last second to have him sing, tap into that and use it for the story and have him sing in the bathroom instead of in front of everybody at the bar. So sometimes we were able to even kind of roll with the punches and turn those what could have been setbacks or um, you know uh, problems into things that helped motivate the story in in a way that was true to the characters. Um, but yeah, there were a lot of challenges. In hindsight, I don't really have any regrets because it was most of the challenges were just things that we were asking for by trying to make a film in this way. And while they were problematic in the moment, yielded, they ultimately, now the film is finished, gave that whole approach gave the film such a unique identity, I think, and tone.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I never really thought about you with having the documentary background, that working with people who aren't used to being in front of a camera. So it sounds
Mm.
like with that background, it definitely made it a lot easier for you and probably everybody else too. You knew how to
Yeah.
kind of guide them a little bit in that direction for something like that. Now,
Hmm.
with the film being out, hitting all these festivals, I told you everyone's talking about it online. It keeps coming up in my algorithms online. What is the most interesting or surprising reaction that you have heard about this film thus far?
Most interesting or surprising. I just read a letterbox review where someone said it was a low score. It was a not a favorable review, but she said she thought it was too much that we shot the film on 10 cameras. And I was like, what? Where is she
No.
getting this information? Because
Mhm.
we shot on one camera, but that was a funny reaction. I'm not sure. I think maybe it's just she's saying the film is well edited. She's accidentally saying that the editing is good.
Sure.
Um, yeah, other than that, I think it generally it's like it's very dad coded. Like all the dads who see the movie or like just older men especially. I mean, everyone seems to like it, but um in particular my dad is like he's like a singer's deadhead.
Mhm.
He follows
Love
the
that.
film around to film festivals and
Oh yeah.
yeah, and yeah, I hear from a lot of people. Actually, mm, one of my favorite on that note, one of my favorite bits of feedback, which I've heard a couple times, is people who've said that their dad is no longer with us and they wish he could have seen it. So something about um, I think uh, there's a certain type of man in this film who is I think they're all very soulful and very salt of the earth and I think a lot of people are reminded of people like that in their lives.
I love to hear that your dad is super proud of the film and obviously super proud of you, and he's following it around the festivals.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And it's probably so good to hear other people saying their dads, with them or not, react a certain way to the film too. So that's the power of
Yeah,
filmmaking. And
it's
I
really
know that you,
sweet.
yeah, and I know that you know that. It's not like I'm going to sit here and be like, oh, you're doing so well. To be able to be that person though, from an outside perspective, it's great to hear that people are reacting that way. I will say
Yeah.
with my podcast, we read ridiculous reviews and reactions to movies that people have specifically on like Letterboxd, where people just say the most ridiculous things by giving films like 1 star, and sometimes I'm just
Yeah.
like we read them out loud and we're like, what? Why? That's not a review. That's not doing what you're supposed to be doing. But
Yeah. Letterboxd is great though. It's
oh,
also
for
cool
sure.
for I think for short films because you don't usually have until your film is nominated for an Academy Award or something, you don't usually have the same level of exposure to press,
Mhm.
as features do and critics and so it's fun to get that feedback from audiences and there are a lot of comments on Letterboxd that are so cool
Sure.
and have just made our day when we've read them. But of course, you're gonna get some wild cards
Yeah, and
as
you know what?
well.
And I love to hear that you guys are, definitely seeing all the positive ones out there because for this film, there's absolutely a lot of positive things being told.
Yeah,
Those are the ones that definitely matter in the end of the day, and they're getting it right. Now you're really into editing. Obviously, you edited the film. Is there
Mm.
an editing choice that you had where you were like, "Wow, I didn't realize how great this shot was, or how great this moment was, and how powerful"? Do you have those moments at all?
Yeah, this film is because of the chaotic way in which it was shot. The edit was the edit does a lot of the heavy lifting here. It was pretty scattershot the way that the film was photographed because we wanted it to be kind of open-ended, and so it really did feel like the movie came together in the edit more so than your average project. I I think one thing that I'm proud of is the way we interpreted the first half of the short story, which is this really dense, seemingly never-ending exposition about all the different characters in the bar and where they're from, and the details of what they look like, and you're like, where the heck is this going? And it kind of lulls you to sleep when you read the short story. We interpreted that in a way that feels almost schizophrenic. It's like the first 5 minutes of the film, and we're kind of like weaving through these different little bits of conversation, and you're as a viewer, you're like, am I supposed to be hearing? Am I supposed to be understanding? Do I need to be following? I'm confused. What's going on? It's a little disorienting.
Sure.
It's borderline. It's borderline too much, intentionally because we want, just like the short story, we want to kind of lull you to sleep. Um, and then the plot sort of emerges out of that. In the film, it sort of creeps through this almost like montage of really documentary moments with these different guys talking about their blood pressure and this and that. And so yeah, I'm proud of the way that we kind of interpreted this short story in that first act of the film, and hopefully set the viewer up to be very caught off guard by what ultimately ends up happening in the film. The film starts with a fight and ends with a hug, and it starts with this really um, kind of monotonous montage, and with all these disparate strangers. And I think the last thing you're thinking is that this thing is going to end with these guys singing to each other and forming a little community.
Yeah. So, what advice do you have for all those TikTok creators, Instagram creators that look like they want to get into film? You have any advice for them?
I'm not really deep on TikTok in that world. I use TikTok to scout for bizarre talent. Uh, but for young filmmakers in general, I think my advice is just to um, obviously make stuff, and I think to feel free to uh, emulate your favorite filmmakers. Borrow, steal, recycle ideas, especially when you're starting out. But as you progress, you know, hopefully those sensibilities and ideas can be in your subconscious somewhere. But as you progress, ideally your own voice, which has matured, is kind of merging with um those ideas that inspired you to begin with, and that's where you kind of form your own voice. So I think you have to take some risks and try things in order to uh in order to sort of articulate that uh, whatever that voice is that makes you unique as a filmmaker. For the singers, it was we took so many big risks, and some of them worked and some of them did not, but both the ones that failed and the ones that succeeded um, gave the film its unique tone.
What do you hope for the cast of your film, The Singers? What do you hope for their future?
Well, I really hope that all the love the film is getting leads them to some more exposure. you know, it's what this is really all about. It's a love letter to the underdog, and yeah, so I think they all really deserve to be seen and appreciated like they haven't really been in the past. And I think it would be so cool if some of them got swooped up and cast in more stuff. One of them already did, Tio Rigo, who dances midway through the film, got cast in another film
Nice.
after this one. So yeah, hopefully more of that in the future. And
Yeah, and
everybody, you know, not just the cast, but
sure.
all the crew who, you know, who gave a lot of time and energy.
It's great to hear that someone already got casted, and like you said, hopefully everyone else starts recognizing the cast and the crew because you guys put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this for sure. Is there a filmmaker that you always looked up to, or who you just admired, and why?
Um, yeah, there are a lot of filmmakers that I've always admired. I think one, um, yeah, I think I've been looking a lot at Sean Baker's career and kind of how, first of all, because he, I think, takes a similarly documentary rooted approach to his work. Um, but also I've been looking at how patient he's been in his career, you know, to continue doing his own thing. And there are other filmmakers too that, you know, you look at the Safdie brothers' career, which is, you know, just now sort of really, I think, becoming mainstream, but they've been working um, for decades, and they've been so true to themselves throughout the entire process. So I
Yeah,
think that's an important lesson to keep in mind.
yeah, just keep on going.
Yeah.
Love that. And I guess my next question, my last one, can you describe the singers in 3 words, but don't use the word music or singing?
Um, singers in 3 words.
It's
Uh, how about Lonely Men Connect?
Lonely Men Connect. Perfect. That's good. That's great. That's
You have to watch the movie to find out how.
how, yeah. Well,
It's
that's
a
a
hint,
that's
it's in the title.
yeah, oh yeah. There you go. It's in the title. We can't say it though, guys. Well, hey, listen, thank you so much for doing this with
Of
me. I
course.
really appreciate you talking about it. The audience, where can we go see
Yeah.
this film?
Well, right now it's only available in the Academy screening room, but
Okay.
hopefully soon it will be streaming somewhere for everybody to see. We're still kind of in the midst of those conversations, so I don't have um, a good date or a firm answer for you. But if you stay posted on um, our Instagram page, which I think is the Singers Film, uh, we post a lot of updates and stuff there. So
I will definitely link everybody to not only the Singers Film Instagram page, but also to you, Sam. That way they can
yeah,
follow the journey of the singers coming out. Hopefully they get to see it sometime soon. They can keep reading up
amazing.
on all of the great things about it as well, and even follow your career too. Do you have any plans for what's next, or is the focus just on the singers for now?
Yeah, I'm always working on a few things at once. So
Mm.
I'm finishing up a feature documentary right now that'll come out sometime in the next probably 2 years. It's a long journey that I've been working on for about 6 years so far. So
Ah,
um, that one will be special, and yeah, you know, staying busy with whatever I find inspiring.
awesome. Yeah, keep doing that because it definitely shows in your work, and I know people are definitely reacting pretty well to that. Keep doing what you're doing. It's great to see your
Thanks,
work out
Dave.
there. Yeah, and again, thank you for doing this for me. And everyone, go check out all things The Singers online, and hopefully we get to see that film soon. Sam, again, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And
Thank you, Dave. This is
yeah,
great. Great interview.
thank you, man. I appreciate it. Everyone, have a great day.
All right. All right. Bye.